Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a movie review of Avengers Endgame. This is a film that a lot of people have been anticipating for the longest of time, I myself included. This was probably one of my biggest, most anticipated films of 2019. Obviously, there's some films yet to come that I'm also looking forward to, but this one I was really looking forward to. The trailers really didn't give away anything. There was just so much mystery. It was definitely a mystery box film for Marvel. There was just so many different routes they could take for a film like this, and the Avengers: Infinity War. Um, Left so many questions unanswered, and hopefully this film is going to answer a lot of those questions. So for today's video, like I said, I am reviewing Avengers and Endgame. This is the end of the so-called Infinity Saga for Marvel. We still have one more film left for Phase 3, so it's really not the end of Phase 3 yet for Marvel, because Spider-Man Far From Home in July is set to be the last Phase 3 Marvel film. So we're not quite at the end of Phase 3, but this is pretty close to it. We're just one film away from completing that phase for Marvel. But for today's video, like I said, I'm going to do a spoiler-free, pretty much not going to give away any plot points the best I can. I'm just going to give you my generalized thoughts of the Avengers Endgame film, what I liked and didn't like about it, where it kind of ranks for me compared to other Marvel films. And speaking of that, I do have a video coming soon of me ranking all 22 Marvel films, kind of where they rank for me for each one, which ones were not my favorite, which ones were my favorite, and stuff like that. So look forward to that video soon after this Avengers Endgame review comes up. But let's talk about Avengers Endgame. Let me give you kind of my non-spoiler thoughts, non-spoiler synopsis. This video is really all for those who haven't even seen Avengers Endgame yet. For those who have seen it and probably can pick up on things that I liked and didn't like and things like that. So let's get going on this. So for my synopsis of Avengers Endgame, you guys, after Infinity War, Earth has over 50% of its population wiped out. The Avengers and everybody else are just trying to figure out what to do next. They're trying to figure out the whereabouts of Thanos, because we haven't figured that out yet. With the help of Captain Marvel and a couple of other heroes that have kind of come to light and that we found out about, we can hopefully track down Thanos and kind of take care of him for good and things like that. Also, with Ant-Man coming back from the quantum realm after the events of Ant-Man and the Wasp, we now have information and time travel capabilities through what he knows about through the quantum realm, and so time travel becomes available and things like that. So throughout the course of this film, really what it's about is the Avengers finding out where Thanos is. Now that the quantum realm is available to them, are they going to use time travel to kind of undo certain things to get those Infinity Stones before Thanos gets them? There's just so many different possibilities that they could take at this point to undo all the horrible things that Thanos has done and get everything back on track and get everybody's life back on track and give Tony Stark and Captain America and all those people their life back again and undo everything that Thanos did in Avengers Infinity War. So overall, guys, I loved Avengers Endgame. There was just so much to love about this film. I guess diving right into my positives, my biggest positive I can give Avengers Endgame is that it ties all the MCU films together, whether it is Ant-Man and the Wasp or Thor: The Dark World, like something we might have missed there about Thor and his mom that he still regrets to this day, or whether it's something that Captain America's been dealing with, or something that Black Widow and Hawkeye have been dealing with, or any of those things. Really anything that could have happened over the course of 22 films that really kind of hasn't been resolved yet, or something that we kind of haven't thought about that something could be bothering some of the characters with to this day. All that gets tied together. They really do tie together all the MCU films the best they can, and help us learn about earlier MCU films in the process, which I also really liked about this film a lot too. I really like how they tied everything together for this film. There's also many great character surprises. There was a lot of characters in this film I did not expect coming in. Can't talk about any of them, unfortunately, but there's just so many characters that you thought would be done with, that actor or that actress was done with back in Thor 3 or Ant-Man 2 or Iron Man 3. There's just so many characters you would not expect to pop up here in this movie to kind of add even more emotion to certain scenes, or to once again create more surprises, or to tie the MCU even further together. I really liked all the surprises they had. There was just I would even say going into this film, don't even look at the cast at IMDb for the Avengers Endgame page, just because they really do kind of try to list every possible MCU character that pops up in this movie. And like I said, some of them I really did not expect to see at all in this movie, which was great. So I was just very surprised and very happy that a lot of these characters showed up the way they did in this movie. And like I mentioned earlier, new details are explored on older MCU films. They really kind of shine the light on things that you would never have thought about. And with the quantum realm, they can kind of play around with that a little more. They can play around with what exactly happened to that blue cube from Avengers 1 after the Avengers saved the day in that first movie. Who that got handed down to, and what we learned about those characters that we learned from other later MCU films that pop up, not exactly in Avengers 1, but in later Marvel films that we found out weren't so good and things like that, and just so many cool things that they played around with that I really liked in this movie. And this is also a great storyline. I really was very impressed with how good the storyline was in this film. They really do try to make sure that everybody in the Avengers team kind of has their moment in the movie, and to really, it wasn't just about the Avengers saving the day. They really were trying to undo a lot of horrible things that have happened over this universe ever since Thanos did his snap and things like that in Infinity War. I was just very impressed with the storyline they went with in this movie. This is also a very epic film. They really, not to say that the previous Avengers films weren't epic, but this film in particular was very epic. And there's something that happens in the third act that really kind of emphasizes that a lot. This is a very epic film. They really bring everything to the front burner, and they really make sure that this film feels as epic as possible, and that every character that has been used up to this point in the MCU gets their moment, gets their time to shine, and I was very happy with that. And once again, this is a great third act to a movie. The last hour of this film has so much action, closure to certain characters, details about certain characters revealed. It has a very unique use of the quantum realm one last time after all those uses of quantum realm throughout the course of the movie. This is a great third act to a film. Probably, like a lot of people are saying, probably one of the better hours of a superhero film to date. So that third act really is very strong in this film. Very good, very well executed, well written and directed. Just every positive thing I could say about the third act can be said about it. It's just really well done. This is also a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun watching this movie. It wasn't one of those films where, it's 3 hours and there's a lot of work and there's a lot of things you got to memorize. No, it's a lot of fun. It's 3 hours of fun. It's 3 hours of closure and details and things explored that haven't been explored yet, that you wouldn't have thought had been explored in a Marvel film yet, and stuff like that. Just a lot of fun and a lot of surprises, and I was just very happy with the end product of this movie. But for my negatives of Avengers Endgame, yes, it is a 3 hour runtime, and it felt a little beefy to me. So during rewatches of this film, it is a very beefy runtime. I don't think a lot of people are going to dedicate 3 hours of every week to rewatch this film when it comes out on Blu-ray and DVD. It is a very beefy runtime, and I think that's going to hurt the film over time. Also, just the fact that the first 2 hours of the film aren't as good as that last hour, I think will also hurt it over time too. Who knows? Who knows how I'm going to feel about this film 5 years from now? But for me personally, I thought the runtime was a little beefy. It was rumored at one point during a test screening that the film was cut down to about 2 hours, 35 minutes, I think, at one point in time. And I kind of wonder what this film would have looked like at that runtime, what it would have been cut. Would that help the runtime? Would that help it feel like the editing was more emphasized and they kind of really looked over what the film was about and things like that? So for me personally, maybe a good solid 20 minutes or so could have been cut from the movie. Make it less than 3 hours, because I do think that's going to hurt the film over time. And it does feel very beefy in its runtime. Also, I thought some of the humor in this film wasn't as good as previous Marvel films. There was a couple cute moments every once in a while, I guess. But for the most part, the audience I was in was just like, they just kind of during some of the jokes when they happened in the movie. While in previous MCU films like Avengers 1, Captain America 2, and things like that, when the jokes happen, They really hit you and they really make you laugh. This time around, it's just kind of like you can felt like they were trying to tell a joke and it just didn't quite come off that way. I also thought there were some clashes in feel and tone in this film because Ant-Man's thrown in the roster and because Doctor Strange and some other MCU characters like with Guardians and Iron Man and all that, because you have to find a tone where every director up to this point has worked on the films. Like, how do you make James Gunn's direction, Scott Derrickson's direction, Peyton Reed's direction? How do you make that all mesh together and make it feel like it's all the same universe, all the same world, all the same characters living with each other? And at times it feels like it's clashing together. Because Ant-Man's films are funnier and they are more serious in this one, it just doesn't feel like it's in the same universe at times. So I thought there was some clashes in feel and tone that might hurt this film over time too. There's also some repetitive elements. There's one scene I can't get into, but it's regarding the Avengers trying to get all the stones back together, and it literally is the same scene from the previous Avengers Infinity War movie, just with different characters, with a different scenario that are battling for the same thing. It just didn't feel as emotional. It felt just kind of repetitive. And there's other moments in this film that I feel like they're trying to be nostalgic in certain scenes. Like there's a scene that pretty much is trying to reference a scene from Winter Soldier. It just feels kind of repetitive. I feel like I've been there, that, yeah, something probably bad and big will happen, but it just feels a little repetitive by the end of the day. I feel like they didn't really explore as many new things as they could in certain scenes, because when they do explore new things, I like that a lot. I really wish certain scenes weren't as repetitive as they were. But overall, guys, I'm going to give Avengers Endgame a 9 out of 10. I love this film. I'm definitely going to rewatch it, even though that runtime is a little beefy, and I probably won't rewatch it as much as maybe some other MCU films like Iron Man 1 or Captain America 2. But I really like this film a lot. Probably in my top 5 MCU films. Probably not my number 1 or number 2, but in my top 5 somewhere. Really like this film a lot. Make sure, like I said, to stick around for my all 22 MCU films ranked from May 2008 to April 2019. It'll be a really fun video. So 9 out of 10 for me for Avengers Endgame. Really like the film, and I'll see you guys here for the next video.